G'day, I'm Nurchin, and this is the Dobhar Chú. So what is it? The Dobhar Chú is a creature from Irish folklore, founded in both reality and mythology. Though the mythology part is less fairies and more just black cat superstition. Its name translates to water hound or hound of the deep, but it's also known as the Irish crocodile or the king otter. I mean, that's adorable. Part otter, part dog, part fish maybe? That's sounding pretty cute. Wrong! The Dobhar Chú is actually a killing machine. Its descriptions and actions have varied over the years in true cryptid fashion, but here's what we do know. According to the book Myth, Legend and Romance, an encyclopedia of Irish folk tradition, it was described as a giant otter with white fur and black tips on its ears and a black ridge down its back that looks like a cross. Witnesses have said it almost looks like a wolf, but its face is more broad and flat like an otter, and its feet appear to be webbed. Some also recall that its feet are bright orange and that its hind legs are larger than the front, kind of like a horse. That's quite an assembly of features, but it makes sense since these descriptions have been collected over hundreds of years. But why always under the same name? Sure, the pronunciation has changed from year to year and it's collected a few titles along the way, but it can all be tracked down to its most famous story, the tragic tale of the Dobhar Chú at Glenade Lake. One morning, a woman went down to Glenade Lake to bathe. After not returning for several hours, her husband, a bloke called McLaughlin, tracked her down to the lake to find her completely disemboweled by a giant otter while it had a post-meal nap on her corpse. So he does the obvious thing, he ducks back home, grabs his rifle, comes back down and puts it to bed. While it's dying, it lets out a piercing whistle, and next thing you know, another one of these creatures appears from the water. It charges him, and McLaughlin, a man of logic, does the obvious thing and books it back home. He grabs his horse and he hits the road, but the creature doesn't let up the chase. He rides for many miles, constantly hearing the whistling behind him, until his horse can run no more. So he pulls up in the center of the road, and he waits behind his horse. He waits, and the Dobhar Chú dives beneath the legs of the horse, and pow, he buries his blade right in the center of its head. Now he may have killed two extremely rare species of otter, but to me he's a bloody legend. Where was this bloke when the chupacabra or the flatwoods monster were terrorizing the countryside? Oh right, probably in Ireland. So this story has been passed down for hundreds of years, some of its more famous iterations coming in the forms of poems. I'm not typically a fan of cryptids with only one sighting, but the Dobhar Chú has more to offer than that. There have been reported sightings of this creature both before and after the encounter, as well as a gravestone for the woman that was killed in the Cornwall Cemetery in Glenade that dates all the way back to the 17th century. The gravestone even depicts an image of old McLaughlin killing the Dobhar Chú by the side of the road. That's the best quality image I could find, and apparently that's what that image is supposed to be. Now if you believe the Dobhar Chú was just a one-off pair of creatures, then the sightings should have stopped after this encounter. But not only did they continue afterwards, but the rumours surrounding them got more bizarre. And when I say rumours, I mean magic powers that could threaten the human race. So what can it do? In one account from Myth, Legend and Romance, apparently 1 inch of its pelt could protect a ship from shipwreck, a horse from injury, or a man from bodily harm. That's fair enough. The creature supposedly had very thick fur that could serve as protection, but I consider this a bit more like a lucky rabbit's foot, or a lucky otter's foot. But this book then compares the Dobhar Chú to the werewolf mythos, and apparently it can only be killed with a silver bullet, and the killer will die themselves within 24 hours of the act. Okay, so again this could work. If it has a resistance to bullets that aren't silver, it would explain why it was seen years after the event. Not the stabbed one, I think that one's quite dead. Also, if they hunt in pairs, maybe that would explain the companion being able to kill the killer soon after. Yes, it's a stretch. The book also states the creature never sleeps. Nope, that's rubbish. How would you know? How could you possibly know this? You done stuffed up Dietheohoigen. That's fine. He was obviously leaning more on the folklore side of it. I mean, even more of its physical depictions suggest a certain energy to it. In The Anatomy of Puck, written in 1959, the Dobhar Chú was referred to as the Master or King Otter, and was supposedly once seen with a fleet of 100 smaller otters at Dhu Hill. Actually, the collective for a group of otters is called a bevy. Oh yeah, boys. So, was it real? It's surprisingly common for people to get attacked by large otters. It's mainly to scare away intruders, but it can become physical. Keep in mind, the Dobhar Chú was seen in lakes, so we're not talking about a cute sea otter, we're talking about spooky, stay away from the children otters. More specifically, we're talking about the Eurasian otter, also known as the Old World otter, which is a baller name. These things can grow to about 1 meter long, and the Dobhar Chú is said to grow as large as 5 or 6 otters. That's bloody huge, and could definitely kill a human with relative ease. There were other reported attacks from the 16th century that called it the Irish crocodile, claiming it could rip people's limbs clean off. So, giant otter? Yeah, I could believe it. But what about its more unusual traits? I've discounted most of myth, legend and romance, but it does imply some possibilities. Considering the size of this thing and the thickness of its hide, I'm not surprised that 16th century weaponry may have struggled to kill it, possibly leading to the unkillable rumour. With 1 million hairs per square inch, the otter has the thickest hair in the mammal kingdom. So, times that otter by the size of 5 and you got some pretty dense armour. The pelt is also a bit of an odd one. Not the protection part, but the colour. Otters have dark brown fur with lighter patches on their chest and face, but the Dobhar Chú is said to have white fur with black tips and a black cross. This also makes a bit of sense. If we look at creatures with similar patterns like the skunk or the badger, it's primarily used as a warning. Just this time it means stay away or I'll disembowel your wife. But back to the otter parts. The famous tail of this creature makes a lot of sense for an otter. Otters communicate with a variety of chirps and whistles that make sense for the creature's iconic call. There are some species of otter that mate for life, which would explain the strong bond between the two Dobhar Chú and why they're often seen in pairs. And of course, otters can be very territorial, especially when their bevy is involved. So at the end of the day, the Dobhar Chú doesn't sound that unlikely after all. It could have just been a freak occurrence, but the fact that there were 2 of them makes this seem unlikely. In fact, in 2010, a fossil skull was found that belonged to a species of giant otter. Now, I will admit that this fossil was found almost halfway around the world in China, but so little is known about this creature that they could have been anywhere. This thing could grow as large as a wolf and had an incredibly strong lower bite. Its species name was Cymogale melilutra, referring to the Latin meles, meaning badger, and lutra, meaning otter. Remember the colouring? At the end of the day, we can't be certain, but the Dobhar Chú sure fills a lot of classic cryptid explanations. It may have been like Black Shuck, where an unusually large version of a common creature attacked a few people and the superstition was added later. Or like the bunyip, a prehistoric creature that has survived till much later, but still hasn't been seen for hundreds of years. Or the classic, this bloke killed his wife and scapegoated a piece of Irish folklore. Just a theory. Now, it may have died many years ago, but there must be more information out there. Luckily, I know a man with unparalleled detective skills and isn't afraid to dropkick a rodent. I am of course talking about Wendell Elmwood. Over to you, Wendell.
Thank you, Nurchin, and top of the morning to my fellow crypto enthusiasts. Today we've travelled to Ireland in search of the Dobhar Chú, but this is no research trip. It appears it's been harassing some of the locals, so we're here to take out the trash. Come on, Rob, let's go. So apparently the Dobhar Chú can communicate using whistles, so I've brought my own to try and lure it out. Wait, what? Sorry, I'm a little bit rusty. Here we go. Do you hear that, Rob? I think we got him. Let's go. My word, Rob, look, it's the Dobhar Chú. Alrighty, I can't afford a GoPro, so I'm gonna put my phone in a Ziploc baggie. That ought to do it. Alright, Rob, no time like the present. Let's take out the trash. Okay, it looks like I got him, and it's just the corpse you have to collect. Oh, one more thing to remember. There's always 2 of them. That's our cue, Rob. Time to book it.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, be sure to smash that like and subscribe, follow me on my socials and my second channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.